have been living in an unfair world for a long time. Let me share my experience about fighting against this unfair world through my passion to tell stories. As Walter Benjamin once said, there are two kinds of riders: land riders and sea riders. I am sometimes a sea rider, but as any sailor will tell you, you have to know where the harbors are on the map to get to your final destination. Anger, fear, indignation. These emotions represent for me some of the most important drivers for telling stories. They are the waves of my sea. And this is the story of my travel. Just like the sailor, I left my island, Sardinia, with a suitcase full of sparkling and evanescent dreams, and with ambition of becoming a film script writer. I was 19, and I was so curious and naive compared to the person I am today. I found this sailor writer, a very peculiar one, a participatory sailor writer, living among the farmers on the other side of the world, in one of the most dangerous and violent countries in Latin America, El Salvador. And I should point out that I never liked the countryside. I have always found it so boring and so unattractive compared to the city. I love the cities, and nothing like living in Madrid or Paris gave me the beneficial sense of being understood and linked in a wonderful and cosmopolitan world that belongs to me. But only in a remote community in the hills on the border between El Salvador and Honduras, the sailor rider inside me felt a family estrangement. In a kind of time machine, a mental landscape of my native land, Sardinia, and in one of my grandfather's documentaries from the 50s. He was a great visual land writer because he always wanted to describe a land, an ancient world, in its entirety. Unfortunately, that word no longer exists. But it exists in my dreams, resurfaced like a wreck from the sea, or rather at the opposite hemisphere of the earth. Santa Marta is a community that has been deeply affected psychologically and humanly by the civil war in El Salvador since its beginnings in the early 80s. It was a guerrilla outpost and therefore the target of a genocide by the National Army. The survivors of the massacres fled and took refuge for nearly a decade in neighboring Honduras. Then they returned to repopulate their land, which was destroyed and rebuilt in the 90s. My personal research took place in Santa Marta during the work of the 6th International Court of Restorative Justice in El Salvador in 2014. This landscape has been called Barajustar in a Photovoice Project, a visual participatory method with which I work in the field of international cooperation. It is seen from the perspective of the Salvadoran border hills toward Honduras, the border of exile. In this Photovoice group, and the image was taken by the young psychologist Hermenegilda Argueta. But the most interesting element of this image was the discussion that sparked around the image about the soul of a picture, which aroused in everyone the desire to barajustar. Barajustar is a dialect word that does not exist in Spanish and is spread just throughout El Salvador. And it means a sensation, a feeling you get when you cannot stay still or you are locked up at home, and then you go out and start wandering around without a goal, with a sense of anxiety that you don't know what is to come. This image is an example of what are called therapeutic landscapes of the mind. Several times I experienced on my own skin, even in my own language that does not exist this word, I experienced several times the desire to barajustar. And I felt safe in the countryside and totally the opposite in the capital, San Salvador, where you can really count on the fingers of one hand the streets where you can walk without fear. Marta Nussbaum is an important philosopher that argues that emotions have a rich, intentional content. And their role in a satisfactory human life is essential for the construction of the human capability. Capability that is something completely different from skills. Before leaving for El Salvador, I knew that my research was supposed to focus on the analysis and monitoring of Italian psychologist project that had been working in the area for over 6 years. And I would have experienced a Photovoice project about the memories of the people of Santa Marta. There, in Santa Marta, when understood in reality how deep were the wounds of the whole community, I decided to get involved in this project with the youth and the children for an exhibit during the International Court of Restorative Justice. I was listening to their voices through pictures with the Photovoice method. I also chose to work with the youth because they had a glance towards the entire community future. And they can have the power to change their lives. And they are the witness of the fact that the war wasn't able to destroy this youth. They are sons of the 80s, like me, but they born in the refugee camps, the middle of nowhere and everywhere. Here are some pictures taken by them during this project of the potential of the community. Like in this picture, the pollution. After 25 years of international cooperation, this is the state of a community. The lack of water and surviving traditional cleaning and traditional surviving cleaning. El tecomate, a fruit traditionally used to carry water. The loneliness that people experience. The places where they live. And the pride of the guerrilla, taken by Daniel, 11 years old. Images are like bridges between reality and interpretation. Reality itself is always filtered through our subjective perception and is therefore an ideal tool for analyzing and reflecting on the reality in which we are immersed, to formulate questions, to demand rights, to show indignation. For this reason, I coined the neologism autopotenciamento. We can translate it self-empowerment, that I apply to my way of observing and experiencing participatory visual methods with people in groups. working with the Association of a National Cinema Museum in Turin and video community, or working with co-creation with children and cognitive enhancement with new digital and open source technology, with the 6M lab experience. Only the image means a relationship between time and space, with the here and the elsewhere. And that's it. Thank you.